Hi there, this is Andrew from the Road Cyclist Guide, and today we're going to look at ways of trying to avoid getting punctures. Getting punctures on road tire wheels is a really common problem, mainly because the tires are so thin. There's got a very thin tread on them. So punctures are relatively frequent, and obviously we tend to do quite high mileage, so there's the chances of getting a puncture are quite high. However, there's a number of things you can do to prevent this, which I'm going to go through in a few minutes with you. The first thing to say is, though, don't make the mistake that I did when I started road cycling, which was not to have a spare inner tube with you. I don't think I realised on a road bike quite how vulnerable to getting a puncture you are. And it wasn't long, probably 2 or 3 months into my road cycling career, as it were, that I was caught out a couple of miles from home with no puncture repair kit, no tools or anything, and a flat tyre, and walked a very long way in my road cycling shoes and cleats, which wasn't very good. So the first thing to say is that it's always a great idea to have a little saddlebag with a puncture repair kit and a pump with you, or pop it in your back pocket or something, and learn how to change your tire, how to change your tire on the roadside. Not a pleasant activity, but it's better than having to walk home. Alternatively, phone your partner and get them to pick you up, which is what I tend to do, rather than do it on the roadside if I can get away with it. However, there's some things that you can do to avoid getting punctures. The most obvious one, I suppose, is to try to cycle on clean road, if that makes sense. Particularly in the UK here, the roads are absolutely filthy. There's grit in the sides of the roads, washed to the side of the road by tyres. The roads are full of potholes, particularly my area. It's quite bad. If you just try to avoid grit is the thing. If you look at road junctions, and also as you're cycling, looking ahead, if you look into the gutter, you'll see that the grit accumulates in particular places. If you can try and avoid actually cycling on these really gritty bits, actually you'll go a long way to avoid getting grit and sharp bits of debris in your tyres. Potholes are a major problem. Look ahead. If you hit a pothole and you're unlucky, the tyre can compress and squeeze the inner tube between the rim of the wheel and the tyre and puncture it. So the first thing to look at is try and cycle on clean road. The second thing is to, if you can do, and this isn't always possible, but try and cycle in the dry. If you cycle in the rain, the chances are you're going to get a puncture more than in the wet, because it helps lubricate little bits of grit and things into the tyres with the water. Next thing is to make sure your tyre pressures are nice and high. If you're riding on flat tyres, A, it's hard work, but B, also it makes you much more prone to getting punctures. So just pop the thing on the pump on the tyres before you go out, and just make sure that you've got nice hard tyres. That goes a long way to preventing you getting punctures and repelling sharp objects. It also makes you go faster. It's a lot easier to cycle on a tyre that's hard, nice and hard, rather than soft and plumpy. I don't do this, you really should do it, but check regularly for sharp objects in your tyres. I used to think that the only way you got a puncture was if a nail went straight through into your tyre. It's not that. I mean, the number of times I've had a puncture, and actually if you go through the tyre, it's a tiny little bit of grit or a piece of flint or something stuck in the tyre, but it must have been there for a long time and has finally pushed its way through the actual tyre wall into the inner tube. You can prevent a lot of punctures by just going round your tyre really carefully, inch by inch. It only takes a couple of minutes, and just easing out any little sharp objects or little bits of grit that are just starting to work their way in there. A little screwdriver or something, you can do it with your nail generally. It's a sort of life's too short type activity, really, but actually it can save you. So I tend to do this not very often. Whenever I wash my bike, which isn't as often as it should be, I'll take the wheels off and go around them, and you inevitably find something. It's well worth doing. Check the condition of your tyre. I do that a bit more frequently, actually. If you see any bits of the tyre that are looking a bit worn or threadbare, again, I tend to wait until I get a puncture because I'm like that. But actually, the sensible thing is to change your tyre before you have a problem. One thing that I found, I haven't had a puncture for a really long time, and I do a fair mileage. And I think I put this down to the fact that I use gator skin tyres. So you can get what are supposed to be puncture-proof tyres. They're not really puncture-proof, but they are puncture-resistant. And actually, ever since I've used gator skins, I've definitely not had a puncture for quite a long time. So I think they do actually work. So if you're going to change your tyres, they're a little bit more expensive, but in my experience, and I've got no scientific data at all to back this up, but I think from my sort of hunch is that actually the gator skins do work quite well. So gator skin tyres also are well worth just investing a little bit of extra money into, I think, because they are a bit more puncture resistant. More ideas on this by clicking the link below. So have a look at there's a blog post on the Road Cyclist Guide all about how to get fewer punctures, the 7 ideas on there, which may have been the 7th I've just gone through now. There's also a link to the gator skin tyres on Amazon as well, which I think is a really good investment if you are changing your tyres, or even if you're not. So click the link down below, go onto the Road Cyclist Guide, have a look at some other great stuff about road cycling as well. Subscribe to the channel here as well would be really, really great. And if you've got any ideas about ways that you think that you've avoided getting punctures, pop them in the comments below. I'd be really interested to hear. Okay, that's it. Well, happy cycling until the next video. Thanks then. Bye bye.